The Lord is making it tough for us, isn't he? Well, he never said it would be easy. He said there will be trials in all our lives. But he also promised that he would be there for us. And it's in our baptism that he's given us the graces we need to persevere, to be faithful to what he has been teaching us as we come here every weekend to hear his beautiful word, to receive him in the Eucharist, and not to be selfish about it, just to keep him to ourselves, but you take him home with you and share him with each other as husbands and wives, as good parents, as sons and daughters, as brothers and sisters, and as good neighbors. But there still will be difficulties in doing all this to remain faithful. Well, we have the Lord's promise and his example that he persevered and he carried on, and we will be given these same graces. And one of those responsibilities in our lives is to share Christ with others. In other words, right in the beginning, he's telling us to be the missionaries that you and I were called to be from baptism. He started with the 12 apostles and his disciples. He told them, go out into the whole world and bring this wonderful message, this love of God, to your neighbors. Today we are those apostles he's sending out. And I have realized it until I made my own efforts to be a missionary. I grew up as your neighbor in Erie, Pennsylvania, not that far away, right? But I didn't know that you were my neighbors at that time. Not until I went to Ghana, West Africa to do missionary work, as I realized what wonderful neighbors you have been over the years and across the miles, being those missionaries responsible for the continuation of the growth of the church around you. And the church around you were not confined to the Cleveland Diocese or the state of Ohio. The church around you is the world. We live in a time of magic. You know instantly what is going on in the world around you. And it's from this awareness you become the missionary you're meant to be, from the comfort of your home and parish. I stress that, from the comfort of your home and parish. Because not everybody is called to go to New Guinea or to the Philippines or Indonesia or Africa or South America. I mean, personally, go there. I put up before you the little flower, St. Teresa. I think we all know St. Teresa, the little flower, a Carmelite nun. It was in the 19th century, at the time of the renewal of the missionary efforts in the church, that missionaries were leaving their homelands and coming to like America and so on, and continuing the beautiful growth of the church. Well, the little flower, St. Teresa, wanted very much to be part of this movement. She wanted to go to the mission countries around the world and bring Christ's love and the Word of God. But as we read the rest of her story, we realize she never left her convent as a Carmelite nun. She was not healthy enough to get the permission to leave. Yet we know her as the patroness of the missions today. Not leaving her convent, but through her prayers and through her sacrifices, she became the patroness of the missions. It was in that same century, the 19th century, 1875 as a matter of fact, that another saint was developing. Happens to be the founder of my community, Divine Word Missionaries, St. Arnold Jansen. A young diocesan priest wanted very much to be caught up in the missionary efforts of the church. He wanted to leave his fatherland there in Germany and go to some mission country. But he never made it. He never left his country. Yet he's the founder of 6,000 priests and brothers working in 70 countries around the world. He never left his homeland. St. Teresa never left her convent. You never have to leave your home to be the missionaries you were called to be. But through your prayers and through your sacrifices, we who are sent to these countries around the world see the tremendous growth of the church out there. The schools are there, education is there. The churches were built because of your prayers and your sacrifices over the years and across the miles. So today I come to say thank you. Or Dziękuję bardzo, as I learned from my parents and grandparents. Some of our missionaries coming home would announce, muchas gracias. Others, merci beaucoup. Hvala. Obrigado. Trimakashi, Kosunam Sepen, Samulat Po, Dankeschön. Anyuanom e nura meduasi. In any language, thank you is a beautiful phrase. This last phrase comes from the Akan people in Ghana, West Africa, where I was doing my missionary work. When I first arrived, I could see everybody is walking everywhere, every step of the day. The children early in the morning, before they walk to school, are walking many steps to bring home the necessary buckets of water for their family. The people themselves, if they want dinner, their fufu in the evening, walking again many steps to a small patch of land outside their village. Early in the morning, I'm so proud you hear them announce, I'm going to the farm. Well, my dear friends, as you travel Route 20 coming from Erie to Ohio, I saw a lot of farms, as you and I know farms. Spacious acres, a lot of produce, and they're actually talking about the garden that most of us have very conveniently right in our backyards. You're growing your tomatoes and your cucumbers and your zucchini, and my grandmother always liked to kohlrabi and the radishes. They grow the yam and the cassava root, which make up fufu, their dinner in the evening. Indeed, they walk to church, they walk to the marketplace. It was in all the walking I began to realize is taking place in their daily life, that their beautiful customs showed me they were going to walk those extra steps on that particular day as they were coming to announce their own gratitude. In the Twi language, I would hear Osofo e Nura Medawasi. They were coming to say, Father, thank you for yesterday. And my good neighbors, that's what brings me here, the propagation of faith invitation to thank you for the many yesterdays. You have been the missionaries you are meant to be. I felt your presence in my life through the power of your prayers, for instance. Hurting on those days from malaria as it was, I realized I was never alone. God hears your prayers for the missions, not necessarily creating the instant miracle on the spot, but he gives us the graces we need to persevere, to be the missionaries we were called to be from baptism, to hang in there, to be patient a little while with that suffering. Otherwise, for sure, I'd have been the first one with no guts at all, wanting to be right back here. After all, there's no place like home. I mentioned Erie, Pennsylvania as my home. Reaching to the chair next to my bed, next to my cot, I felt your hand in mine. That medication was available. Taking the Ativan, the Regigen, the fever would dissipate in a few days. I'd have my strength back. And again, I wasn't alone. You were there, many of you, ready to ride along the mission trails with me. Here in a country, I'm explaining that people are walking everywhere. You provided our transportation. In a very convenient way, I was able to go about to my 3 parishes. As I arrived in those villages like Kukurantumi or Kwaotafo, I could see you were already there ahead of me as you helped the Divine Word missionary who was sent there before me to build their churches, to build their schools, as I mentioned, and where the sisters were established to have the clinic and the first aid station and the important ingredients they needed for the sick and the suffering, like the medications and so on. So thank you for all that. And for the cup of water that I had to drink every day, I didn't have to walk those many steps to the water source and carry home those buckets. For me, it was so easy. It was right next to the church, next to the school that you built was the water tank, the holding tank, the cistern, the man-made well. It was your sacrifices that brought the cement into the country. Our brothers were able to construct these bases knowing that during the rainy season, the water would be gathered into these tanks. Still used the bucket to bring in the house and boil it, but it saved us many steps in our day for water to drink and water to cook with. Indeed, my good neighbors, you are the majority of missionaries to our brothers and sisters around the world. We continue to ask God to strengthen your faith each weekend as you come to hear his word and to receive the message and receive him in the Eucharist, as you share him with each other and reach out to our brothers and sisters around the world. May you remain those good husbands and good wives and fine parents, good sons and good daughters, good brothers and good sisters and good neighbors, knowing when you have this love and this caring and this sharing right here in your beautiful church community, it will continue to overflow as it already has so often in the past, reaching out around the world as together we build the beautiful church around us. May God bless you. Otumfo niyankapon en shiramo e janno ne obanno ne sun sun kronkron dinmu en yaho.